the highest award, as Ann mentioned, that can be given to alumni. The university has conveyed more than 600,000 degrees, or conferred more than 600,000 degrees in its history. And less than 1%, less than 1,500 of those 600,000 people who have held University of Minnesota degrees have actually received this recognition. So I want to really make the point that the Outstanding Achievement Award, or as we refer to it on campus as the OAA, is really an award, as Abdul said, really an award that honors a lifetime of achievement and contribution. Now, it's pretty customary in giving remarks at these ceremonies to list off the honorees' list of accomplishments. And I will touch on some of those, but I'd like to begin by framing my remarks with one of my favorite quotes. I like to collect quotes from one of John's favorite authors, W.E.B. Du Bois. Du Bois once noted, of all the civil rights for which the world has struggled and fought for 5,000 years, the right to learn is undoubtedly the most fundamental. In so many ways, expanding the rights and obligations to learn has been the touchstone and the central truth of John's professional life. About 10 years after John, I gotta skip because Ann covered a whole page of my presentation. I'm just really glad I'm not last. Anyway, after John finished his work at the University of Minnesota, at least part of his work, being back to finish his doctoral degree, he went off to that other Harvard in the upper Midwest, Carleton College. There are two, you know. And he came back to the other one. Anyway, John was lured back to the University of Minnesota faculty by Dean Fred Lukerman. And he was lured back, I think you were provost, Ken. Ken Keller was provost at the time. But Fred lured John back to the university in a position as a faculty member, with the assurance that his role and responsibilities at the University of Minnesota would not involve any administrative responsibilities. Now, those of you who know the university know that assurances of that type have a very short half-life. And that's true in John's case. He reluctantly, so he was, after someone resigned in the department, he was approached to serve as the department chair of African American Studies, I believe the name was called at that time. And John reluctantly agreed to serve, but he also laid out a very important condition. John said, "I'll agree to serve as the department chair, provided that the college and the university assure me that they will secure a scholarly archive," and these are his words, "of African Americana akin to those I have regularly and frequently consulted on my sabbatical leaves during my decade at Carleton College." That's personal correspondence from John. Shortly after his return, and this is part of the backstory that John shared with me, he secured an internship for one of his students, I believe an undergraduate student, a young woman who went off to the university's library special collections unit, I believe, on the West Bank. This alert student soon discovered a catalog of available, large private New York-based collection of African Americana that John really felt, he was excited about it, and he really felt that it possessed the resources he was looking for and wanted to bring here to the University of Minnesota. So that, of course, led to a series of meetings, one with Dean Lukerman and Provost Keller that I want to share with you, that Ken may remember. And the purpose of the meeting was to really put a proposal before Provost Keller to raise $150,000 to secure this collection. And just to put it in context, if we put this in present value terms, this would be well over $1 million. And so think about this: John, Dean Lukerman approaching Provost Keller and asking for $1 million out of the blue to secure this particular collection. So Provost Keller did what he probably often did, and he said, "I'll tell you what, I'll help, I'll give you a loan." And so he gave a loan of $150,000 at that time to obtain this priceless collection. I must say this is an unusual transaction at the University of Minnesota. It's been my experience that the central administration usually borrows from the departments of the colleges. That's probably changed since we left. The loan enabled John and the university to secure this valuable archive. And this led to another unanticipated role for John. He had to go out and raise $150,000 to repay the provost. And he had to, at the same time, serve as the curator of the collection and as a professor and chair of the department. The campaign involved a marvelous partnership with the Gibbons family in this community, led by Archie Gibbons Jr. and Roxanne, you will hear from in a few moments. And the contributions were raised by the Gibbons Family Foundation, or provided by the Gibbons Family Foundation, and many other people who participated in the community. Dr. Wright agreed to name the collection in honor of Archie Gibbons Sr., a prominent business and civic leader in our community. The partnership with the Gibbons Foundation that Roxanne will talk to you about in a few moments is approaching its 40th anniversary next year. And she'll share some of the highlights of this extraordinary partnership. I was privileged to participate in a very small way in this inspiring story. Abdul mentioned one of his regrets is not taking a class from John. It may be too late, he's retired now. But if he was still on the faculty, I would urge you to sign up immediately. One of my favorite memories was to make a trip over to the West Bank to Anderson Library and listen to John for about 45 minutes highlight the resources of the art of the Gibbons collection, and talk meaningfully about the extraordinary collection and what it meant to the university, our community, and beyond. When the collection arrived, I must say, when I've told Susan this story, my much better half, many times, that when I sat and listened to John talk about the collection that he helped raise and get to the University of Minnesota, it was like listening, the stories you tell about your college experience, about listening to your favorite teacher. And I kind of felt, even though he wasn't my teacher, and I probably wouldn't have earned a good grade, I can say he was mesmerizing. He was absolutely spellbinding in his presentation. The collection arrived at the University of Minnesota campus with 3,200 items, manuscripts, books, and other materials. Today, I think the collection includes more than 10,000 items, including founder of the Penumbra Theater, Lou Bellamy's papers and works. And I think that's a really important addition to the collection. At John's request, I was able to provide appropriate funding for a full-time curator for the Gibbons collection. I think when I was provost or president, and that allowed him to release one of his 2 full-time positions so he could return to his scholarly work and work in the faculty. I want to draw your attention to something that's kind of interesting in this story. Anne mentioned that John is a superb mentor of students and of colleagues. Interestingly, remember that one of his students alerted him to the prospects of the collection. And now today, one of his former students, composer and artist, Dr. Davu Suryu, who is here. Where is Davu? Right? over here, is now the full-time curator of the Gibbons collection.
Yep.
Something that John really wanted to make sure to ensure that the collection really was in good hands going forward. It's just another example of the impact of John's educational mentorship and leadership. And most recently, I must tell you about the reach of the collection. I think Roxanne will be interested in this. I've been working with the people at Northrop to bring a concert called Witness to the University of Minnesota campus. And Witness features African American and African music and composers. And the Vocal Essence has been providing this conference at Orchestra Hall for several years. And one of the things that we did, and I probably led, is to convince them that they needed to be here. This was the right home for this concert. And one of the big sells in convincing them it was the right thing to do was the Gibbons collection. There will be approximately 5,000 students and teachers coming to the University of Minnesota campus in the months of, I believe, either February or March. And I emphasize the role and the importance of the CLA department, but also the extraordinary resources that teachers, hundreds of teachers and thousands of students could access in this way. So the reach isn't just to scholars. It has a phenomenal reach and impact on K-12 education as well. I chose to emphasize the words of W.E.B. Du Bois when I started, to emphasize the legacy and the contributions of Dr. John Wright to advance the rights and opportunities to learn. I think those are fundamental rights, as he so eloquently mentioned in his writing. After today, John Wright's name will be permanently etched on the university's Wall of Honor, and that Wall of Honor is located right next to the Alumni Center of the University of Minnesota and behind this hotel. It is a recognition, as I mentioned, given to very, very few university graduates. John, it's an honor for me to be a part of making sure you get this honor. You richly deserve it. Congratulations.